Hello, I'm Pino Baccinello on behalf of Pacific Business Brokers, once again bringing you entrepreneurial insights into the sale and purchase of businesses. Our focus today will be on non-compete agreements, what they are and why they are important. A non-compete, non-solicitation agreement, as it applies to the purchase and sale of a business, is simply a legal document that limits the competitive activity of the seller. Such obligations are often described in the agreement as being limited in some fashion as to the scope of the restricted activity, the geographic scope of the limitation, and the length and time of the limitation that will remain in effect. Non-competition, non-solicitation agreements prevent the seller from competing with the purchaser in the business they have sold, and also prevents them from soliciting the human capital. When a buyer purchases a business, often a large part of that purchase is goodwill. And as such, the assurance of the seller not taking back some of that goodwill is critical. It is a balance, however. In some businesses, such as restaurants where the seller is also the chef, it can be difficult to prevent the seller from making a living from the skills and training that he or she has, and as such may be harder to enforce. So here are some points to consider when selling or buying a business that ought to be considered in the context of the non-compete and non-solicitation agreement. It can be difficult to bind or restrict employees of a business in a non-compete agreement. The broader the range of the non-compete, the less enforceable it may be. For example, if purchasing a small manufacturing company or retail store, subject to numerous other factors, a 10-year non-compete may be less enforceable than a 3 or a 5-year non-compete. Similarly, a non-compete restrictive, say across the country, and again with some exceptions, would be less enforceable than within 15 or 75-kilometer radius, depending where the business's reach typically is. The single most important reason you should be aware of and at least minimally knowledgeable about non-compete and non-solicitation agreements is this. Non-compete agreements, if properly drafted and used in the appropriate factual circumstances, are enforceable. And if not properly drafted, they are not. So the key is that such agreement be drafted with such knowledge and understanding so that the restrictions are as narrow and as reasonable as necessary to protect the business's legitimate interest. So before you request unrealistic restrictive covenants in a non-compete and non-solicitation agreement from a seller, and or before you as a seller get all uptight about the restrictions being placed on you, consider reasonableness and get professional advice on reasonableness and enforceability.